Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, all praises to Yahweh Ba'ashim Mashak Yahushua. That's all praises, honor, glorification unto the Most High God Yahweh, in the name of His only begotten Son, Mahashiach Malak Yahushua, who the world refers to as Jesus Christ, and He is the Savior of the nation of Israel. All right, shalom, shalom. This is your brother Yashala, coming back to y'all with the end of the video through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. I'm gonna get straight into this. All right, this is basically going into a quick reminder for the men, right, that have children, and really even for like older siblings that have younger siblings, and the Lord has allowed them to be in this truth, right, or kind of hearken, right, and not really be stiff-necked against the truth and the laws of the Most High, right. And there's people like that out there, that's even in my situation, right. My siblings, my younger siblings, are in the truth, right? So we can't forget to neglect. We can't forget to teach them, right? Because let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 7, and this mainly towards the fathers too, right? Sirach chapter 7 and verse number right, Shalakia, Sirach chapter 7 and verse 23. It says, "Hast thou children, instruct them, and bow down their neck from their youth." So the scriptures is commanding the fathers to instruct their children, right? Instruct his children, right? And bow down their neck from their youth. What does that mean? Discipline them from the youth, right? Discipline them, right? Teach them what's right. Teach them what's wrong. You know what I'm saying? Show him the path in which he should go, like it says in the book of Proverbs 22:6, right? It says, this is Sirach chapter 30 and verse 1. "He that loveth his son causeth him oft to feel the rod, that he may have joy of him in the end." So the scriptures speak about disciplining your son, right, and your daughter, right. Putting them in discipline will allow them to lead a good and healthy life when they grow older, right. Because if parents don't discipline their children, then they will just be free and willful, like it says, right. Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 30, right, in verse 8. It says, "And a horse not broken becometh headstrong, and a child left to himself will be willful." So that's plain. A child that will be left to himself will be willful. You have certain Edomites, so-called white people, right? Rich kids, and their parents don't teach them discipline, right? So when they grow older, they just grow up to be this damn willful man, right? Who's always seeking attention. He's a man, or basically he's a child in a man's body, irresponsible, etc., etc. Why? Because he was never disciplined, right? Edomites, they don't discipline their children, right? But it's common amongst so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans for their children to be disciplined because that's just in their spirit, right? So even when we come to this truth, the scriptures condemn, or condone discipline of children, right? And also the teaching of the commandments, because we know that the commandments within itself is discipline, right? You have to refrain from doing certain things, and you have to do certain things according to the commandments of the Most High. So that's discipline within itself too. So by you teaching your children commandments, you're also teaching them discipline, right? Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 6. "And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart," meaning it's going to be in your mind, right? Like the Lord said, Sirach 6 and 37, "Let thy mind be upon the ordinance of the Most High, and meditate continually in his commandments," right? Verse 7, "And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children." The Lord said you have to teach your children, right? Diligently, right? Teach them the commandments and the laws, right? "And shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up." Meaning everywhere, right? Everywhere you're supposed to be teaching them and admonishing them by the laws of the Most High, right? And why do you have to talk about it all the time? In order for them to remember that, right? Because if you're always conversant in the commandments and the words of the Most High, etc., you're going to remember that, right? So that they don't forget it, and so that let's go to the book of Proverbs, right? I kind of quoted it. Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 6, right? "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." So if you train up your child the way that he should go, then when he grows up older, hey, you can't teach a old dog new tricks, right? He's going to stick with the commandments, most likely, right? Now, you do have certain exceptions when they rebel against the commandments when they get older. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't teach them, right? That goes into, all the will of the Most High. But, most of the time when you teach your children to do certain things and to not do certain things when they get older, they're going to stick with that, right? Because that's how they've been taught, So, this was just a quick lesson, right? Let me go back to Sirach chapter 30. I got to close out real soon, but let's go to Sirach 30 and verse 2. He that chasteneth his son shall have joy in him, and shall rejoice of him among his acquaintance. Meaning, if you chastise your son, and that's what the Lord does to us, right? The Father, he chastens us, right? Because we're his sons. You can read about that in the book of Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 7, right? And chastisement can go either way. It could go verbal, right? It could be physical, right? You can actually beating up your child, right? We're not, beating him up, but, discipline him through physically, or it could be verbally, right? You're telling him where you're going off at, right? Stuff like that. Verse 3, Sirach 30 and verse 3. He that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy. So if you teach your son, especially, if you have Israelite children, right? You're teaching them, you're going to grieve the enemy. Who's the enemy? Esau. Esau hates it when Esau hates it when so-called black men and black women are leading a strong household. You know what I'm saying? So-called Hispanic men and Hispanic women are leading a household and teaching them the laws and commandments of the Most High. Esau hates that. That's his worst nightmare, right? He that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy, and before his friends he shall have rejoice of him. Though his father died, yet he is as though he were not dead, for ye have left one behind him that is like himself. You see that? Meaning that what? You're basically like that saying, the chip off the old block, right? When your father, if, someone's fathers die, right? A man's father dies, right? Hey, it's like he never left because he still lives in you, right? You're so much like your father. A lot of times the son will have the same characteristics of the father. He'll walk or talk like his father, et cetera, right? But yeah, this is going into, discipline of the children and making sure that we're teaching them, right? Teaching them the laws and commandments of the Most High, and as well as, teaching them, the truth, right? And letting them know, right? Letting them know so that when they're older, they won't depart from it, right? And they may be even mightier than us, right? Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah, right? So with that, I'd like to give all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah. Lord willing, this is edifying. Shalom.